I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Numbers, chapter 25. So let's focus on verses 10 through 13. The Lord spoke to Moses, and here's what he said. Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, has turned back my wrath from the Israelites, because he was zealous among them with my zeal, so that I didn't destroy the Israelites in my zeal. Therefore, I grant him my covenant of peace. It should be a covenant of perpetual priesthood for him and his descendants, because he was zealous for his God, and he made atonement for the Israelites. I find it interesting how the enemy of Israel summons a foreign prophet to curse Israel. But they were unsuccessful because the Lord would not allow Israel to be cursed. But by the end of chapter 24, it has Balaam and Balak going their own ways, frustrated over God's blessing of Israel despite their attempts. And of course, all of this plotting was taking place outside of Israel's awareness. And perhaps more interesting is how unaware of Balaam and Balak, the men of Israel did a fine job of cursing themselves. They couldn't be cursed, but they could curse themselves. Their enemies are wondering where Israel's weakness was. And Israel was engaging in open sexual sin with the women of Moab. So in today's chapter, the Bible exposes that Israel's personal sexual sin was itself Baal worship. So the Baal worship came first. They were enticed by the women, their hearts went toward their gods, and then they gave their bodies over to the women. So here's a lesson. Israel's enemy is not from among the nations. The enemy of God's children is Satan himself, the original Baal. So this also applies with Jesus and his children. Not Jesus himself, but obviously with the children of the Lord. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. For our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the world powers of darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavens. Make no doubt about it, spiritual forces affect human attitudes and actions. But where men will give up the fight, the enemy never relents. Balak and Balaam walk away confused and defeated, but Satan entices the men of Israel with the oldest trick in the book. And were it not for the zealousness of Phinehas, the grandson of Aaron, God's wrath would have destroyed Israel. Often we compartmentalize our lives. We have individual compartments for work, and there's another compartment for family, and then another one for religion, as it were. And when people, whenever we say that we give our lives completely to God, we often mean that we give Him all of that particular compartment, which bears His label. But God is jealous to consume all of your life. He doesn't just want a church compartment and then you have all these other compartments. And we should be zealous to drive out sin from all the rest of our lives. So whether our sin is hidden or openly flaunted, we should respond as Phinehas and purge that sin from our midst. Of course, you can only do that by the Holy Spirit and according to the word of the Lord. And that's what we're doing here. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.